trauma at its simplest form is just a moment when your nervous system gets dysregulated. A moment where your whole body turns on an alarm. And when your whole body turns on an alarm, whether it's, there's the car pulling on the gravel driveway, the person that drinks and comes home and is abusive is pulling in, or, mom's got that expression on her face, I better not say anything. It can be small moments, big moments, but when your nervous system goes into a state of alarm, your brain kicks into, let's record everything in hyperspeed so we can remember this so I can protect you in the future. And that pattern locks. And that's why so many adults continue to stay trapped in patterns from their childhood that they don't even remember.
Welcome to Pocket Watch Podcast. I'm Zach.
Cruz. Jake.
Kristen.
Hey, I know y'all heard that. We do have a semi-guest today. It's going to be our counselor today.
She's our resident social worker. We got our resident social worker in the house. Not a better episode to bring her on. She's got her social work degree and stuff, so she knows a lot more about this shit than we do. But it's perfect episode for her to come on. We're gonna be talking about traumas and whatnot. Why not have our resident social worker come on for this?
I'm excited.
It's perfect.
And nervous.
It's perfect. It's perfect. Because I think we'll bring you on here and there for certain episodes where it calls for it. And I think this is
definitely an episode for that.
Great start. Sure. Great start. Shout out to everybody that's listening to us, sharing us. Keep pushing our shit. Keep liking, keep subscribing, keep following up with us because we're only getting better. I know you guys can see the progress and the growth. We working hard for this, man.
Yeah, definitely.
We're trying to keep pushing this and get better every week, man.
We definitely catching a little bit of momentum. So it's dope, and we do appreciate you guys week after week tuning in, giving us that love and that support. If you guys are on the Block 105, thank you guys for tuning in. You guys are kind of like our new family that we've been joining in with. So if you guys want to go ahead and hit us up on our socials, you can check us on Instagram at Pocket Watch Podcast. It's all together, spelled, regular Pocket Watch Podcast.
Yeah, and you're not getting the full episodes for the most part, probably. Yeah. So if you want to get the full episodes, go check YouTube, go check Spotify, Apple. We're on everything. Pocket Watch Podcast.
Yep, exactly. So come, give us some love. If you guys want to recommend anything, go ahead and let us know. We can definitely have some conversations, whatever you guys want to listen to, whatever you guys want to hear. Yes, we'd love to give it to you guys, So it is what it is.
All right.
So we'll jump into it.
We'll get into this. We'll do the weekly success and failure. Well, I'll start with my success since we're talking about we catching some momentum and stuff. This past couple of weeks, I stumbled across a couple of apps for my phone, and that shit, we flying with them, man.
If y'all haven't seen all the posts on Instagram,
we
you guys haven't seen all the thumbnails and everything like that, this man Cruz putting in work.
We're rebranding, we're repackaging all of our YouTube videos. If you notice, if you're listening on Spotify or Apple, our picture looks different now. So we're trying to look more official. We're trying to look good. That shit makes me feel really good.
Another thing too is if you're listening on a Spotify, I think it's actually going to be this episode that I'm actually going to be testing it out. We might be having video on Spotify. There's a feature when we upload our stuff. There's a feature for us to be able to upload videos with our stuff. I'm actually going to try it with this episode. I'm not sure if it's going to work or not, but maybe if you guys actually listen to our Spotify, maybe open it up right now and go check to see if the video's playing. I haven't tested it yet, so we're going to see if that actually works, but you guys might actually be getting our videos on Spotify now too.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Hell yeah, man. So, I mean, that'll be my success this week. I think it makes us look a little more official, you know what I mean? So the work we put in can matter a little more.
Yeah.
And then my failure, I've been like working out good and whatnot, but I've been eating like shit.
Yeah.
And it made me think, cause like those that like love food, right? Like you get happiness out of food. And then when you hit and I'm not old by any means, I'm still a kid, but like I'm at 25 right now. Let's start to hit that age where it's like, yeah, you can't eat the way you used to eat. You know what I mean? So like, I'm starting to realize that and starting to get used to it. And I've been eating like shit, which is my failure, but I got to start tightening up on that one for sure.
What about you, Jakey Boo? I'm doing something. Hold on.
No, you're good. So my weekly success would be doing some house projects. So I like the way it's coming out. I'm doing the back rooms now, the flooring in the back rooms.
Are you doing your fence? No, I'm playing.
The fence, that's done. That's done. All right.
I'm joking.
That's done. But I'm doing the back rooms. We getting shit done in the house. House is looking nice, so I like it. It's looking more more nicer. So
You be getting ideas when you be doing the walkthroughs and stuff.
Yeah, I be walking through like, damn, I want to just tile this up, and I just want to, you know. But I know all that costs a lot of money, so it's like, all right, we're gonna take it step by step, project by project.
But you save so much money when you do it yourself. Though,
oh yeah, ridiculous amount of money. It's crazy. Yeah. But you know, so that's my success. My failure would be, bro, my mental space, man. I'm just trying to win that battle. It's harder to do, you know, when it's just shit you don't want to do, you know, especially when it's towards your business, you know, like this is, you know, like I have a lot of stuff I have to do, and you know that I have to sacrifice a lot of stuff that I have to put in forth an effort, and it's just, you know, when you lose that mental game, it's you're losing the battle in total. Yeah, man. You know, so it's detrimental to my process of being as big as I want to be. So
getting better, hell yeah, bro.
So that's my failure.
Yeah. So for me, I'll start with my failure. Is actually really similar to you. I just been letting like the stresses of life and just everything kind of get to me and like bog me down a little bit. But I feel like I've been doing pretty decent, pushing through and stuff like that. But I've definitely been letting it kind of like get to me a little bit more. Just kind of been thinking, dwelling on things a lot more than I would care to. So that's definitely something that I've been feeling with this week. But my weekly success is kind of like a broad thing, just because like I'm happy with the way that things are going. I'm happy with where I'm pushing, and like I'm happy with like the momentum that I've seen in my life in many aspects, in many ways. I'm seeing like a lot of momentum in things that I'm doing right now, but I'm also seeing a lot of momentum building up for things that I'm planning for my future, and things that like are like long term. I guess like long. I don't want to say goals because they're not really goals, but like long term things that may be happening. So that I just see a lot of like momentum building up, and I'm liking it. You know.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Hell yeah, man. All right, so let's get into it.
Oh, so, no success affiliate for Christine? On the spot.
She didn't want to get into it.
No, let's skip it.
She's like, I'm here to advise you guys. Anyway.
This is my life, guys. No, I'm just playing. All right, so let's get into it, man. So that was our weekly success, weekly failures. That's good. This week, we're going to get into trauma. We're going to talk about pretty much
childhood trauma specifically.
I guess, yeah, for us specifically, it's going to be childhood trauma. I think pretty much like what was our trauma, how it affected us, and how we got through it, right? And it was a good episode. It's a good episode to have Christine on because she's got her degree in social work and whatnot, so she could kind of offer some of those other insights that probably, you know, we wouldn't say or think about. And we also, what did we do? We took a little test.
Yeah, so we took a little test that is called the Adverse Childhood Experiences.
ACEs?
ACEs.
What is that?
So ACEs is a little quiz that you take, and it's a yes or no quiz. And they're asking you different type of questions, such as, did you grow up in a divorced or separated household? Have you ever been molested? Have you ever see your mom get beat?
Right.
Things like that. And if you get a certain amount of yeses, you're more likely to have certain experiences in your life.
Right. So it's 10 questions.
Yeah,
right?
10 questions.
So and it was all traumatizing questions pretty much in different ways. They had like emotional traumatizing, they had physical, they had sexual, they kind of had the whole gamut there.
Yeah.
And what was kind of cool that we realized when we sat down and took this test, I mean, we could get into the results a little bit, but like me and Zach both scored 4 out of 10, right? But on different questions.
Yeah.
And then Jacob, what did Jacob get?
He got 8.
8 out of 10. So Jacob's fucked up. No, but it's
honestly, it all makes sense to me now.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Ignore it, bro.
I got you.
So, and some of those things that I realized too, you know, every test, right? Like tests are kind of bullshit sometimes, but it's a good way to get like a general gauge on like where you stand, where you sit, because like when you get into some of those questions, it's like for instance, it'll say like no one was there for you, right? And that's not true. You know what I mean? Like we've had, but then that's when you realize like if someone, all it takes is someone to do something to fuck you up, right? To get you not, you know, to mess you up mentally or instill something that you didn't, you know, it is what it is.
And if there was ever no one there for you, imagine what your results could be amplified by.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then the other thing.
And that is a fact, that is a scenario for some people.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
For you guys, but for some people that would be a yes.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing that test doesn't really factor in is like, I think like and I don't know, like not one trauma is worse than the other, you know.
Exactly.
But like sexual trauma, I think is a little different.
That's a little bit
you know what I mean? So like those.
Do you want me to go into the different type of traumas?
What are the different traumas?
So there's emotional abuse, physical abuse, sexual. I said emotional.
Start at the top. What is it?
Emotional, physical, sexual, and there's more, but I didn't write them down.
So emotional, physical, sexual, those mental, right?
Mental, yeah.
Which could be pretty much mental.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
mental.
So it depends. But I think some of those might have more weight than others. You
Right.
know, so it really.
I think there was like a negative, like a physical neglect and shit like that too, right? There was,
Oh yeah, physical neglect.
Yeah.
And it could be things such as like an assault, an accident,
yeah.
physical, emotional, or sexual abuse, like we spoke about.
Yeah.
War,
Yeah.
child abuse or neglect, witnessing a violent act, natural disasters, sudden loss and grief, intense medical or emergency procedures, and the list goes on.
And I think the other thing I was starting to think about when we were taking this test, and I like try it. Everybody that's listening, just go try the test real quick and see where you score. But I wonder the differences too of like self-inflicted traumas, right? Which we have, you know what I mean? Like I know people that went through like real shit, but because of the stupid shit they did. You know, and that's a huge trauma in their life now that they got to work through versus
Right.
like your
But
parent.
we're talking about childhood trauma, or there could be generational trauma.
Yeah,
That would be
but I'm just saying, like,
generation.
I wonder, like the self-inflicted trauma might mean a little different, might hit a little different than like when you're a kid and it's you have zero control and somebody else is putting the trauma onto you, like physical abuse or something like that versus like I got locked up for a certain amount of time and I got this trauma, but it's because of something I did. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree.
Or I went through like I was facing life in jail. And
because your own actions.
because of my own actions.
Right.
But that's
But those-
traumatizing.
Yeah, but
But it all results from something.
Yeah.
I feel like to get to that point, you've had to gone through trauma.
you have had to gone through something.
True.
So there's a statistic that is 80% of people in jails and prisons grew up in foster care.
We're really
Yes,
80%.
80%.
Wow.
Yes.
Holy shit! I didn't know. I think it was gonna be that
So
high.
think about
That's
that.
pretty damn high for numbers.
Those people were removed from their house because of neglect, abuse.
Many reasons.
They were
yeah.
displaced.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think.
Wow, I did not know that. That's a deep statistic right there. 80%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That almost kind of tells you like how we can probably stop a lot of issues in the United States right now.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and I think that's really big. And it's funny because like Christine, our resident social worker, was telling us, like, pretty much it seems like from the results of that test, like if you're within what is it? And the things that you're more likely to is pretty much just you're more likely to fuck your life up.
right. So if you have 4 or higher,
Which is me and Zach.
you and Zach, you are 2 times higher a risk of cancer and heart disease.
Like eating wrong.
Right. 5 or higher, even 4 or higher. Some tests say different, but whatever. If you're 5 or higher, you're 8 times higher than. Sorry, stuttered.
No, you're fine.
Your risk becomes 8 times higher of being an alcoholic.
Right.
And
So what is
using
it for
drugs.
like the 8s?
Oh, they eat.
Because there's something right here where we got the 4s and then we got an 8. Like I just want to see what Jacob's more likely to
Let's
do.
see the A's.
So heart disease, obesity, illicit drug use, sexually transmitted diseases.
Check.
So basically everything for
teen
this guy except for obesity.
pregnancies, Right, stroke.
So it's like, and it's weird too, because so like if you got a kid or whatever and you're raising them and you just like how easy is it to just get those just 4 yeses on that test, right? Like I feel like everybody I know probably has 4 yeses at least.
Yeah. at
And,
least.
which kind of tells you about like, and I think that's like really like demographical. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah.
then-
It's environmental.
yeah, exactly. So I'm saying like maybe like where we're at, maybe we're used to seeing people see 4, but maybe if you're like Chirac, Chicago, maybe like the average is 9.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I feel like it's like really, really, really big on like the demographic of where you grew up and how you grew
And
up.
then there is that subtlety of like,
Outliers like Jacob for us. He grew
no,
up with us.
but I mean, like it's he's the perfect example where
Yeah.
I think like it's almost bad not to go through trauma, right? Like
To a
that
certain-
shit shapes
yeah.
you a little bit, you know, just
In a
depending
sense.
on what it is.
Mm.
You know,
No, I feel like
in a
if you,
sense.
I feel like you can learn lessons without being traumatized by it.
Yeah. True. Okay.
You know, like, I agree. I mean, I feel like, trauma does shape you. It depends on the extent of how much you got of it and just kind of the way it was handled once you got it, you know?
Yeah.
That's all. I feel like that's what matters the most.
Yeah, you know? For sure. And I think, like we were talking about, I mean, like before we get into like what is our traumas and whatnot, and we'll have Christiane kind of chime in and give her opinion on how what our trauma was, how how it affected us and how we got through it. I just want to talk about my pops because I think it's a good example, because I think the three of us went through shit, right? Like everybody has trauma, and I think we're great examples because like we can say we've went through something, worked through it, and maybe better off because of it, and or not, whatever. But I just want to talk about my pops because I feel like it's a good example of like for instance, a lot of my trauma was from his trauma. You know what I mean? Like that's that generational trauma right there, right? Mm-hmm. So like my pops was molested as a child, right? And then that kind of stemmed from all these other things, and he went through other things as well. Like, I mean, he went through foster care and whatnot, and his parents were drunks and shit. But look what happens when you don't work through it, right? Like you become the same people that gave you.
You become the product of your environment.
Right. And what's sad is like I think he's still working through it, and he's 56 years old.
You're right.
You know what I mean? Like I think it's important to like identify the trauma so you could work on it, right? Because I think
he wasn't
you have to.
Growing up in foster care, you're being displaced all the time. You're going from home to home. Whereas if you have a 2-person household or even a 1-person household, you're getting
some type of consistency,
but you have somebody nurturing you, and nurturing is super important to the development of your brain. Mm-hmm. So if you're not getting that, the neurons in your brain will die out, and sometimes you can't rebuild them.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
I think too, like, and I don't know about you guys, but like, even with the like, let's just say like, so I could just get into mine. So like, even if like with my trauma I went through, I still had like some nurturing. I still had people that were there for me and stuff, right? And that could be the only reason why I was able to work through it.
Yeah.
Like some people go through the same trauma, but they don't have that other person that's there for them, or that other person that's nurturing to them, that shows them the other side, like, nah, you'll be, or allows them to get that quick breath, like, okay, I could work on this, I could work on myself, you know what I mean, or whatever. But like, for example, like for me, and again, when we talk about this, we know there's people that went through real shit. I think even just us three here, it's different levels of trauma already.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm kind of starting first, because I think mine is more like what a lot of people go through. But like, for like, because of my dad's trauma, he became an alcoholic and whatnot. He became, because of how his mother was, he was very mistrusting of women and things like that, and that totally went into his marriage, right? Like with my mom. And I would say my trauma that stuck with me, like the one that sticks out, if we're gonna talk about it, is like it's not necessarily the drinking, right? Because like I know people that drink all the time and they can handle it and it's good, but it was like
drinking is different. He's more of an alcoholic,
right?
Yeah,
right. But then like angry,
right,
and mistrusting of women,
yeah.
And I think like what it did for me, because I remember being a little kid hearing my parents like argue, like loud and bad, and I remember being like 6 or 7 and seeing my pops hit my mom and stuff. And that kind of continued up until I was like maybe 10 or 11, where I was able to kind of stand up against him, right?
Yeah.
But so I think so that was the trauma for me pretty much, was like, yeah, everything's good during the day, but then when it becomes nighttime and he starts drinking and stuff like that, that's when you can start hearing him say certain things, or start being a little aggressive here and there. And then like if my mom had like traffic on the way home, like you just start hearing like all these insecurities pop out, like where were you? You know what I mean? Like what's going on? And then it kind of instilled in me like a little bit of anxiety, like I'm not gonna lie. Some of my insecurities, like that I worked through in high school, even of like not trusting a girl. You know what I mean? Like I had to realize, I'm like, yo, I think I was kind of getting that from my pops a little bit, you know. And I think that was definitely, you know, traumatizing for me, and just not having like that consistent like happiness through it, you know, like just getting that super darkness at night and then kind of like brightness during the day, you know what I mean? I think that made me feel like nothing's ever gonna be perfect, right? So like I'll catch anxiety when things are too good. You know what I mean? Like when things are going really, really good, I'll start to catch a little bit of anxiety. Like what's gonna happen? Like what's gonna go wrong right now? You know?
Yeah.
And but I will say, like, cause I even with all of that, like my mom was always like super, and my dad he wasn't abusive or nothing to me too. So that was like the weird one, you know? Like he never hit me or nothing like that, but like he was just angry at my mom, you know? Mm-hmm. And it did traumatize me a little bit with that, but this one almost made me better, I feel like, you know, because it was like a perfect, I got to like see it all throughout my childhood. And then I got my mom, like, this is why it's good to be like a strong woman too. Like if you're ever going through an abusive relationship or something, and you got a kid, your kid sees it and he knows it. Yep. And he's going to remember it for the rest of his life, or she's going to remember it for the rest of her life. Exactly. So just know that. And I think some of the big things that turned it into like some of the big things that allowed that trauma not to last with me was
having a loving mother,
and the fact that my pops wasn't really negative towards me allowed me to feel sympathy for him. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like if he was abusive towards me and a drunk and stuff, maybe I don't get to have that sympathy for him. You know what I mean? So it was more directed to my mother and whatnot. But those two,
you know his story.
And I didn't really, but see, that's the thing. That took me time. Yeah. Okay. That took me time. Like I had to become older to kind of be like, you know what? He didn't even have
some empathy and stuff.
Yeah, he didn't have control. Like, exactly. Let's get him better. Let's work through that. But I'm lucky that even with those kind of traumatizing events, I still had like a loving mother. It wasn't directed. His anger wasn't towards me, so I was able to feel sympathy. And that's kind of how I worked through it. Was, all right, how do I not become this, or how do I become better? Because like even in once they separated, I think I was like 13 when they separated, and that's when he went to the deep end. Yeah. Because like I'm talking about when I was younger, and that's when he was drinking and angry towards her, and then when they separated, that's when he became like really bad, and that's when it was like a lot of like your mom this and that, and you know, and stuff like that. But I was lucky, you know, enough to see my mom kind of stand up for herself and stuff like that. And lucky enough to, I don't know, have that understanding, like, you know, she did better for herself, and it's his own fault a little bit, you know, like mm-hmm. I never like had resentment out of their breakup.
But is it his own fault?
Yeah, right.
I mean, if you start picking back at his childhood and all the experiences he went through.
Right. Like if he worked through it before he became a grown ass man, then maybe, you know,
right,
shit is a little better.
But he never got to go see anybody for help or anything like that.
No, so. Yeah, it still hasn't.
You know, you were able to, you know, see the reasons why some of your actions were reflecting off of. You know, you were able to be like, you know what, this is a direct correlation to this situation. You were to be like, all right, you know what, I got to change this.
Yeah, and that's
you able to see that. And that was a big thing that you were able to see.
I feel like people handle trauma differently, obviously, but like for me, like a lot of the trauma that I went through as like when I was growing up, I turned that hurt and that pain and everything like that, and I channeled it more into like, this is who I'll never be.
Yeah, same.
So you were aware of that, and you were like, I'm gonna break generational curses.
Kind of, yeah, kind of, and you know,
because
like
seeing what you saw, that kid,
yeah,
you know?
And it was more so like, I'll never be that person. I refuse to be that person. Like I'll never ever do it, just because like I know what it felt like, and I remember seeing it, and I remember the things that I went through, stuff like that, and like me seeing that, like I would never wish that upon anybody or anything like that. So because of those things, I pretty much vowed to myself that I would never be that person. And me telling myself that my whole life growing up, I always say that like like my biological dad showed me what a man is not.
Right.
The complete opposite. Like if I ever have to like question anything like that, I'd be like opposite of what he was, basically. You know what I mean?
And I'm not gonna lie, while we're talking about like I'm not gonna lie, like up until maybe like the past couple of years, because like my dad has been living with me now the past year, because he hit a rock bottom. Like I'm telling you, since I was 13 years old, he's been on the decline. It hasn't been since the past year, because even when he came and first started living with me, I resented him.
Yeah.
Like I was just like, and that's me not letting go of my trauma, right? Like that's me not letting go of the shit I went through as a kid. Because low key, I remember thinking like,
Well, this was awesome.
it was like
it
feels like a shadow. It felt like all throughout like with my childhood, it felt like a weight. It felt like a shadow. Like it felt like
You're holding on.
Like it felt like I don't want it to become nighttime. Like I don't want the night to quiet down, because this is when shit happens. And I promise you, like when my mom stood up for herself and left, and I started living with her a little more, like in our apartment or whatever, like for real, I felt the weight go away, right? But it wasn't getting over it. It was just removed.
Yeah.
Like it just wasn't. You weren't living with
Can't
it.
see it.
And every time I used to go visit, I used to live with my dad 2 days a week, and it was like getting back into it. It's like that, like just like denial, unhealthy, like very reactive, very defensive. Like everything's defensive. Like, hey, what'd you do today? Like, what? What do you mean? Like everything's defensive and shit like that. And up until this past like year, honestly, and it's a lot thanks to like how we talk and how we work on ourselves with this podcast, and there's a lot of thanks to like talking with like Santi and stuff like that,
Dale, yeah,
and how they talk to me about it. And it's like, yo, you haven't even let go of that shit yet, because look at you right now. So when he came back, I felt like, yo, I'm letting that darkness back into my life right now, and this is when I'm at my peak. This is because like. Throughout high school, I had a little glimpse of it because I had to go visit him. When I was in my college days, it was nothing because he was in Tampa. So the only times was like when I get a call or I had to send money or some shit like that.
But that's very normal.
Yeah.
Because you're getting triggered by an event or a person or an environment.
Right.
And
person.
Right.
That will happen no matter what. Like PTSD victims, it's the same thing, you know, or survivors, you know.
And that's why I think I'm lucky enough that my trauma didn't affect me so much to where I think I got rid of my trigger, right? Like I actually was able to I felt that trauma. I had that darkness and that shadow with me. I was able to leave it for a little bit and know how I'm supposed to feel. This is how it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then when it came back into my life and I was a lot older, and I had a little more understanding, it allowed, like, up until maybe 4 or 5 months of him living with me was when I started to, like, all right, you got to forgive this guy for that shit.
Exactly.
Right.
And then, like you said, up until now, like, you got to understand it's not his fault that he was acting that way. Because then I learned about shit he went through. Like he was molested in his whole childhood. And it's like, yeah, if I went through, I didn't even go, like, my childhood was, like, amazing compared to that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like, all right. So I was able to feel that trauma and I lived through it. But, and I think I like working on it was understanding it and forgiving it.
That's the biggest part.
And then that allows me to get rid of those triggers. Cause now, like now he's doing a lot better, but before he got better, I kind of got rid of those triggers and I was able to kind of treat him with love and work with it with love. And it helped a hell of a lot. And I'm really happy to know, like, that darkness that I did feel or used to come into my life here or there is no longer
Right.
present.
That's dope.
Like, I'm in control of this now.
Right, because
Yeah.
the roles are switched now.
You know?
You
So
were
it
a
is like
kid.
the benefits
You
of
notice
I'll
it.
never do this. I'll never, like you show me the person not to be.
Yeah.
You show me what not to do. That was always there
Yeah.
because of my mom, because she gave me that love and she always gave me that support. It's like, yo, I'll treat women so great because of that.
Yeah.
But then, like, to get rid of that darkness and those triggers, and, like, I used to get anxiety about it, you know, like, and even Christine could tell you, like, when she would come, like, if he would do something that's him, like, be dirty or something, and Christine used to say something, I used to, like, snap on her a little bit, you know, or I used to talk bad about him to Christine, like, man, this motherfucker, you know, And like definitely, and I know Christian, you could realize this. The past like 5 months or so, it's been like we've been approaching it differently, and it helps me internally a little bit. So that's really for me, like for those that go through, that have went through maybe a trauma similar to mine. That's maybe the biggest thing you could do, because don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot of traumas out there that it's not that easy, and it's not something you could really work through like that. Yeah. I was lucky enough to have those people around it that were good, and then be able to work through it that way. And now I'm happy to say like I'm better because of it, and because of the way I've been able to like, notice it and attack it in a certain way and work on it with love. It's kind of like exited me, and I'm really happy to say like that darkness won't ever be in my life again,
Yeah. Dope, bro. Yeah.
And it's really good,
Yeah. You want to follow up with that? So, kind of for me, I'm trying to think of like where I should start really. So, like kind of when I'll start from I guess where I can remember. So me growing up, I didn't really see much when I was younger, like 2, 3, so like that. At least I don't remember much. But I remember that like my father was always a really angry and short-tempered person. And I remember like there was a point where my mom and my biological dad were kind of hitting like a point of resistance in their relationship. At the time, I didn't really know a whole lot about what was going on. But I guess my biological dad was kind of doing some shady stuff like on the side, and like my mom ended up later on after a couple of years catching that he cheated on her, stuff like that. So, but
which that could be a trauma in itself. It's like, this is my daddy, this is my mommy. Like, you're a kid. Yeah. These are my superheroes.
Yeah, exactly.
Your whole world.
And then oh, this happens. Cheating.
Yeah. I didn't even know. I didn't even know that was what started it, because at the time I was pretty young, and I had older siblings. So I guess they kind of actually found some stuff on the computer and showed it to my mother. Actually, that's how it started. But anywho, so like that kind of started, and like I know that they were kind of like in a really tough spot during that time, and I know my biological dad. I mean, I started seeing, at least I don't know if it was before then or what, but like I started seeing that my biological dad started being like really like a lot more aggressive and kind of more controlling towards my mother and stuff like that. And then like that's when I started like seeing things. He was always really physical with us as kids, Yeah. And it would always be a lot more than just belt whoopings, stuff like that, But I was younger. My younger sister was really young, so we didn't get it as bad as my older siblings. Like my older brother, man, I remember he used to get whipped so bad, man, like with whatever was in reach, metal bars, broomsticks, whatever was in reach, he would get hit with, and he would be left with like bruises, cuts, and it was like beyond like taking a belt to the butt, like whatever, smacking your kid's butt, whatever. Okay, but like full on metal bars to the point where you're breaking the metal bars, breaking skin, causing them to bleed, where they got black and purple bruises all over them. Like that's a little bit too far, grabbing them by the throat, slamming them to the wall, punching them in the ribs, choking them out, and stuff like that. Like that's next level.
That's physical abuse.
Yeah, exactly. I just wanted to like make like establish that it was a little bit deeper than that. And luckily, I didn't really get a whole lot of that, because at the time I was like 4 or 5, but like he was still really physical to me compared to like how you should treat a 4 or 5 year old.
Yeah.
And then so that's kind of where it all started. And he was always like that with us, and he was kind of never like that when my mother was around. My mom used to work a lot for that, and she's always been like a real big go-getter for like her career and everything like that. So she used to always work a lot. So he was never like that when my mom was around. It was never kind of really like that. And then it started kind of changing a little bit through their attentions like that. I noticed that you gotta tighten it.
Twist it forward. There you go.
Yeah. There you go. But I started noticing that he was kind of getting more aggressive, and I remember like the first time that like something happened is that like I had an uncle. He actually passed away, but him and his wife came to stay with us, and my uncle was a really, really big dude. And we were all like hanging out in like one of the rooms, kind of just like dancing, like having fun and drinks like that. I'm not even sure what exactly even happened, but something happened, and my dad ended up like shoving my mom and like smashing to the wall, so like that. And I remember we were all like, what the heck? But basically, like that night turned pretty crazy, pretty fast, and my uncle almost beat my biological dad's ass that night. To be honest, but
are those certain things you think helped you through that trauma a little bit, like having a mom that was like such a strong figure, even though seeing her getting hit,
1,000%,
cousin that supported her,
yeah, a little bit, but like over time, because this is just the start of it, man, from a biological dad. In the beginning, like she was strong, but like I started seeing like
she started to break a little bit.
She started breaking and like being a little bit weaker and so that, just because I think it was just like so much and like to a point where it's like kind of like my mom always did what she could and I was strong through it, you know. Yeah. But so like that night happened, and then I don't remember. I know like that night is kind of like what really started like the official breakup, like the official divorce of my parents. So that started happening, and then when they started like divorcing, my biological dad started getting really crazy, man. And we don't know what happened exactly, but we had a house that we lived in, and out of nowhere we all just started getting super sick, started having like a lot of issues. Like we were all like super sick, started having a bunch of crazy problems, to the point my mom just ended up selling the house because we had so much issues. And later on, my mom thinks that my biological dad like sabotaged the AC system with like fiberglass or something like that, because I was going in and out the hospital all the time because of how sick I was. It was like really crazy. So we actually, and my mom ended up selling the house and we ended up moving. And then my dad was like really stalker, like really crazy stalker. Like he used to call my phone and leave voicemails and stuff like that, and be like, because I was young at the time. Like this time I was like 7 or so, 7, 8. No, I was like, yeah, probably about like 7. And he used to call my phone. I had my own phone because I used to watch my little sister and me. He would call my phone and leave voicemails and like, I'm gonna go to your mom's job, I'm gonna fucking blow her head off and I'm gonna fucking shoot myself in the face and you're gonna have to fucking live with it and shit like that. Or he'd be like, tonight when you're fucking sleeping, I'm gonna break into your house, I'm gonna shoot your mother, or I'm gonna shoot you and your sister and watch your mom let you guys bleed out, I'm gonna blow her brains, I'm gonna shoot myself.
Wow.
And I think that like,
and he used to leave voicemails like that on my phone and shit like that. So it was getting really intense, but it started escalating more, because he started like, there was times that he actually did break into our house and he would like leave subtle things to like let us know that he was in our house when we were gone. So like he would like,
that's like mind games, right?
Yeah, I remember like one time he literally left like lunch meat on the counter with like a half eaten sandwich or some shit like that.
Just so you know I'm around.
Like just so you know I'm coming, I'm here. And then I remember one time like my mom used to always let us see like during all this stuff, my mom was still like, if you want to see your dad, you can see your dad, like that's on you guys. And I was always kind of like a little bit wishy-washy with it, but I was just like, you know, whatever, it's my father. And my younger sister, we kind of hid a lot of stuff from her because she was younger. So, you know, like when they started divorcing, she was like 2. And then like during this time and all stuff's going on, she's like 3 and 4 years old. So like, it's hard to like break down a 3 or 4-year-old, like your father's trying to like threaten to kill us, you know? Yeah. So, we kind of were still going with my dad occasionally. So I remember one time we were doing like my dad was dropping us off. And I remember he kind of like barged into the house, and then he went to the back room, and like my parents were speaking. My mom's like, "Oh, just go to your room." And I hear like a lot of yelling, and I can kind of hear like things getting like knocked like that, like, you know, that's like, this is like people are like kind of fighting a little bit, you know. So I ran to my mom's room. My dad is literally grabbing the phone cord and trying to wrap it around her neck. So at that point, I started screaming. I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing?" You know, like I'm screaming so like that. And then my mom was like, "What, are you gonna kill me in front of your son or something like that?" And so he kind of like just stopped and he just kind of like ran out the house. And I remember like another time that like we were doing like another handoff, and we were trying to leave the apartment complex. My biological dad got like in, because every time it was like a handoff, it was always like some type of talking, some type of BS, you know, like it was always.
Did you used to catch anxiety leading up to?
Of course,
to the handoff.
Yeah, so like it was always like some crazy shit. So like I remember one time we were leaving the apartment complex and my dad like hopped in and he had like a big Suburban, and he basically almost ran us off the road, and we had to like pretty much go like on a high speed chase trying to like run from him and shit. It was absolutely insane. I remember like another time we did another handoff. We were at the mall, and it's actually like it really got really bad when she started dating my stepfather, because I think at that point he realized that like he lost her. Yeah. And which, I mean, like after everything you've done, like what the fuck, you know what I mean? Like I think any sane person would be like, after everything I've done, like, you know what I mean? But I remember like this one time we were doing like another swap. And it was actually for my older siblings, because my older siblings is actually not my mother's biological kids. He had another marriage before, and those were his kids from that marriage. But my mom, raised them since they were young until they were like early teens. So like it was basically like,
those are her kids.
Yeah, you know, like my mom was married to my biological dad for like the better of like 10 plus years.
Yeah.
So anyways, we were at a mall. If I'm not mistaken, I think it was in Sanford actually. Anyways, we were at the mall and my stepfather sat outside and like he was like kind of like scoping. Like I remember actually seeing him walk through the mall. He had like a hat on, he had like a little mustache and everything like that. You couldn't even tell it was him, but like I knew him, you know what I mean? So I saw him walking through the mall and he was like checking on us, kind of like being like undercover. And out of nowhere, my biological dad gets like a phone call and he like, oh, I gotta take this call fast, give me a minute. He goes outside and my stepfather sees him go to his car, open the trunk and grab a gun. And my stepfather called my mom and says, he just grabbed the fucking gun, run as far as you can and find security and hide somewhere. So we run, we find security, whatever. And we tell them like, oh, you know, blah, blah, what's going on. So like they kind of like put us in like a little area and they kind of like put us somewhere safe.
How old
and then
were you at this time?
At this time, I would say I was probably like between the ages of 8 and 9, somewhere around that ballpark. So I remember, like we ran somewhere, something like that. And security was there. Then the cops got called or whatever. And sure enough, the cops came and he had a gun on him. And then, but I guess by law, you know, he had a license to have the gun and everything like that. And he didn't prove any intent to use the gun or anything like that. So there was nothing that they could do just based off of that. So basically they just said, oh, we'll escort you out. We'll let you leave. And then we'll hold him for like an hour or something like that before we let him go or some shit. So we left. And then whatever, they let him go. So like that's kind of that. And after around that time frame, I kind of just realized that like I don't want to keep doing this stuff because of every time we do something, it's always some crazy stuff that happens on the links, stuff like that. And like, so my younger sister kind of wanted to start. She still wanted to go because, you know, like that's her dad. So
you stopped wanting to go see?
Yeah, I was really hesitant. Like every once in a blue moon, I would go with them, but I kind of at this point kind of stopped going. My mom's like, "Oh, you want to go see your dad?" So I'm like, "Nah."
And how about your older brother? He was already like,
my older brother had to live with him growing up, so like that's like a whole nother trauma because.
But at that time when you guys were going to, he was living with your dad when
he
you
was
guys
living
were
with
going
my dad because my dad had legal custody, and there was like times where like they would come and live with us for a few months, and they would go with my dad, live with us for a few months, depending on what my biological dad was going through. You know, he would lose his apartment. He was super unstable, and so depending on what's going on, they lived with us on and off. Up until like their adult years, you know, like until like their 20s, they were living on and off with us. But yeah, so that's kind of like where that is, and I'll kind of jump ahead a little bit. I actually stopped speaking to my biological dad around like 2011. I haven't spoken to him since 2011, and the last time I spoke to him, I got in a really bad burn when I was young. My parents owned a pizza shop. My stepfather owned a pizza shop, and I came in one day to do that, whatever, and the pizza oven like blew up or whatever. And I got helicopter lifted to Tampa, yada yada. And I was medically induced to coma on a ventilator and everything like that for like a week. And I guess while I was there, whatever, like as I was waking up or something like that, I was still like off of like the pain meds like that. So I don't really remember 100% everything, but I remember bits and pieces. But I remember my biological dad texted me and he was like writing me like, "Oh, I hope you're okay, buddy. I hope you're like, I hope you make it through this. Like, I hope you know I love you, yada, 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 this and that." And I remember replying back and I was like, you hope I make it. You hope I'm okay. I was like, after all these years of you threatening to fucking kill me, to kill my mom, like this is probably what you want me to die, blah, blah, you know? And then so that happened and he was like, "Oh, how dare you say that? You're fucking disrespectful, blah, blah." I kind of like started spazzing on me. And I was like, you know what, man, fuck you. Don't ever talk to me again. I'm never going to talk to you again. Simple as that. Like it's just best if we don't speak to each other ever again. Like there's no point. Like you don't bring any positivity in my life. You don't bring nothing to my life that's of any value. So basically, I told him like, "Fuck you. Don't ever write me again." He was like, "Oh, you're so disrespectful." And then I blocked him and I never spoke to him again since then. And then so that's that. And then but my stepfather was kind of his own traumas, you know. My stepfather. He was a great man, you know, and he's a lot better than my biological dad. That's by far. But my stepfather had his own traumas when he was growing up. And I'm not going to get too deep into that. He's kind of a private man, but you know, he had some issues growing up, so like that. And, he had like a bunch of family issues and he had like a lot of neglection. He had like a lot of issues that led to like him feeling neglected and not loved and yada, yada.
And you saw that linger in.
Yeah, it's like that was like the background of everything. So he didn't know how to show. The reason why I'm saying that is because he doesn't know how to. He didn't know how to show love.
Mm-hmm.
There was not a piece of him that knew how to show love. And I think the only person, like, to this day things have changed, but like back then, like the only person I ever saw him show love to was my mother. You know what I mean? Like he even had a son of his own, and he never showed his son love.
Do you think too, like, so like this is like two traumas right now?
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So do you think too the trauma that you went through as a kid with your biological dad kind of gave you like that lens, that tint, that distrust for like your step pops coming in a little bit?
Oh, so
and maybe reaffirming something a little bit, like, oh, this is just how it is. You know what I mean? Like
to a certain degree, a little bit. So I definitely saw myself comparing it and was like, oh, this is not as bad as the other one is. He doesn't hit my mother. Yeah. You know, like me and him got in like some fist fights as like teenagers and stuff like that. We went at it a few times, but like he was not an abusive person. You know what I mean? Like he was not physically abusive. He was super mentally abusive and emotionally abusive. This guy Jacob always got to take a piss.
Zach already knew he wasn't even looking at you.
But so he was like really emotional and mentally abusive compared to like my biological dad was. So, but like for him, like a lot of his issues because he still didn't know how to show love and stuff like that. But like you know, he was always like, I didn't really grow up with bullies. My stepfather was my bully growing up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And anybody who knows me, they know how that is.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like again, not one trauma is worse than another, but I always knew, like, when I went to go to Zach's crib, like, Chad was very aggressive, right? Like,
yeah.
Like I wasn't used to that type of aggressiveness, you know, and that was him probably being nice to me.
Yeah,
you know
and like, and and like it's not like aggressive, like physically aggressive. It's more so like verbally. He's super verbally aggressive. Things that he'll say, he's super blunt.
And that shit matters. Like, like it just does as a kid, right?
But
like,
you know what? Like, and there's like a pro and a con to it, man. Because honestly, like, it's a pro because like when people say things to me, like to a certain degree. Like I don't really
like
stress.
Built for it.
Yeah, I'm like, man, like that's all you got, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's also kind of like almost like a trigger for me because it's like you're not gonna talk to me like that because I lived a long part of my life with somebody speaking to me disrespectfully, and you're not gonna talk to me disrespectfully. You're gonna respect me. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like I kind of got to the point where it's like you're not gonna talk to me like that. You know what I mean? But it's like also like to the point where like I don't want to say that like I don't really care because like the words that people say doesn't bother me. Like somebody's, oh, you're fat. Whatever, I don't really give a shit, but it's more so like on the respect level that I feel like, you know what I mean? And like, I can definitely say like I've gotten better with that, but, so yeah, I had a lot of issues growing up with like on that side too, because of how he was and everything like that. And like, basically he would get joy out of pissing me off and like having me upset and stuff like that. So like, that was his own stuff, but
how did that, so with your biological dad, how did that affect you, do you think? Was there lingering effects of it, or did like the shit you went through with your step pop kind of give you something to work with and work on?
I think when I was younger, my the things I went through with my biological dad was definitely an effect. I had a lot of like envious towards my step pops because of it. Mm-hmm. More so like I kind of felt like he was never going to be like a permanent thing in my life.
Like expecting it to go the same way.
I kind of to a certain degree, I kind of expected it to kind of go like, especially with like how he was, you know, he wasn't like super loving stuff like that. So it was kind of like I didn't really have high expectations in the beginning with it. I was more so just like, dude, like whatever, you know. And I was an asshole to him, man. Like when him and my mom first started dating, it's crazy because I actually met him before my mom and him started dating. I used to go to my mom's job, and that's how they met, whatever. And I used to think that he was a pretty cool person, but as soon as I found out that he was dating my mom, I fucking hated him. I swear to God.
So there goes how that initial trauma kind of fucks with your
exactly. And I think the main reason why is because I saw my mom go through something ugly, and she was actually in a better position, and she was kind of actually finding peace.
We ain't doing this again.
And that's basically what it was. It was more like, we're not going back down this road, like, no, my mom's good.
He showed some red flags in this.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, so it was definitely like weary for me in the beginning, but like I kind of noticed that like he actually loved my mom. So that was something that was like really, really key for me because it was like, you know what, like this guy might be a dick to me, but this guy really loves my mom and he treats my mom right. You know what I mean? So like that was kind of something that was kind of like, you know, but like when I first met him, he used to drink a lot. He used to be really crazy. And then my mom, after like a couple of years, my mom basically like, listen, if you're going to keep drinking and being like this, I'm leaving you.
Yeah.
Like this is not what I signed up for. So he stopped drinking and he started getting a little bit better.
Which is good for your mom too, because
Yeah.
she set that shit straight too. She's like,
Yeah.
we ain't going through this.
No, yeah.
again.
Not again.
And I feel bad kind of for my step pops a little bit because and I understand why my mom did not play no bullshit games with him because of what she went through. She's like, I'm not doing this shit again. And like, she's like, I know what I deserve and blah, blah. So like, it was really good for her because she set those boundaries early, and who knows where it could have been if she didn't set those boundaries, you know?
And it was good for him too, probably.
Yeah.
You know, who knows where he could have been.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But like, so like there was a lot of stuff that built up to it, but like, I want to talk about the positive on it because, you know, like he had a dark time and stuff like that. And I think he got to the point where he realized that like, a lot of his issues stem from his childhood. And I think it took him his whole life until he was like in his mid 30s to realize this.
So you just living with it and tainting everybody else until you get over your own shit.
And it's like when he started talking about it, he started like talking to my mom about it, started talking to me. He hasn't told me a lot of everything, but like he would kind of start talking to us about stuff. And I'm like, dude, like that's not healthy, bro. Like that's not normal, you know? And he's like, oh, fuck it. That's how it is. I'm like, that's not how it should be. I'm like, and like, we were kind of like probe at it a little bit. And I think it kind of caused him to start thinking like, hey, you know, maybe I do have some issues from this, like that. And so the biggest change from him, man, was that like, and like, I don't care. Like if people are listening, I don't care if you're religious or not, but like he started like reading the Bible and started like praying and stuff like that. And it really caused him to kind of like self-reflect and start dealing with his issues. And he started like, I feel like he didn't want to talk about his problems to nobody. So he bottled it up. But him praying to God gave him somebody to speak to that he didn't have to speak to their face, and it gave him a chance to open up without actually somebody looking him in the eyes and him feeling the humility with it.
Yeah.
So like it kind of gave him that open doorway to actually start speaking about it to himself that he kind of like usually bottled up. This is a way for him to actually open up the bottle and kind of start speaking about it. So I think he started dealing with a lot of his issues with that, and I think like that started like a whole process of healing for him, and it took him a while, but man. Like he changed so much, and it was crazy to actually watch him go through the change, because I remember when he was going through the change, I was like, oh, this is not going to last. This is like a phase. But I kept telling myself, like, because there'll be times that I kept finding myself wanting to tell him that, and I'm like, dude, like, don't tell him that, because that's gonna be like deterrent from this. So like I always tell myself, like, there'll be moments that he would start saying something and I'd be like, man, shut the fuck up. Like this is just some shit you're going through right now. You're gonna be fucking Chad in a couple weeks. But I used to always hold that for myself and me saying it, because like I didn't want to tell him that, because I'm like, you know what, if this is something that does change him, then great, this is awesome. You know what I mean? Exactly. But anyways, it got to the point where like over like a course of like, I would say a few months, maybe even close to like a year or so, like things were a lot better. And like the moment that it actually hit me that things were a lot better for him was that I actually totaled. My mom was out of town, and my step pops was out working. He's a truck driver. He was doing he was overnight, and my mom was out of town. And I took one of their cars and I totaled it.
Yeah,
and I spoke about it in the podcast before.
Yeah.
I crashed in and totaled it, and man, the amount of fear that I had in me, not even from the accident, more so like what's going to happen to me because of this, was absolutely insane. My step pops came home, man, and he looked at me. And I could tell he was so pissed off, and he was working everything in his whole body. And he looked at me, and I remember like it was the craziest thing. 'Cause I remember like I heard him pull up into the driveway, and I knew he was home. I came to the kitchen table, the dining table, and I sat down. I'm like, okay, I'm ready for this shit. Yeah, I already knew what time it was, you know. So he walked into the door. He looked at me. I could see his face. He put his work duffel bag down. He looked at my face, and we just kind of sat there and stared at each other like eye to eye for a couple of seconds. And he goes, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah." He goes, "Come here." And I'm like, "Oh, this is it. You know, we better start fighting." Yeah. And he goes, "Give me a hug," and pulls his arms open. And I'm like,
no, I love that.
I'm like, what?
Change.
Yeah. So he gave me like a big hug, and that was the first time my step pops gave me a hug ever. And like, this is like, I would say maybe like 9 years of me knowing this guy, living with this guy. You know what I mean? Like him and my mom are already married. They already have another kid and everything. Like this is like 9 years. I think this is like the first time he actually gave me a hug.
It really seems like to me, just to kind of like not wrap up, but like to push forward is like, it seems like you had your childhood trauma with your pops, your biological pops.
Yeah.
And then you kind of like semi revisited it with your step pops.
Yeah, it was different.
A little bit.
Do you think like the fact that you were able to work on it and get through it, and you guys kind of like are great and you guys were able to resolve those issues with your step pops? You think that helped you kind of work through and resolve that trauma that you had? Because it's from what it sounds like, there was zero closure, zero resolve. Zero resolve with your biological dad.
1000%. So actually, like, my biological dad, like, I've forgiven him, and like it is what it is. Like what he did is what he did. You know, he remarried. He has kids and stuff like that on his own. And I wish him the best, man. I hope that he's a father to them, and he's the husband to his wife now that he was never before. I truly hope and pray that. But like my stepfather filled that void that I had in my life
to let you feel that way.
Exactly. So like I don't have that void missing in my life that makes me want to be like, I want to rekindle everything with my biological dad. Cause it's like, I have a dad, I have a father right here. You know what I mean? So I don't have like that urgency. I don't have that feeling to even want to even try to rekindle anything with my biological dad, because he feels everything that I need. So it's like, why do I need this guy in my life?
But how about this? How about like when your biological dad reached out to you when you got burned, you were still kind of going through shit still. Like you still had that trauma with you.
Absolutely.
And you were still in the middle of what you were going through with
absolutely.
your steppops.
I say that.
So you were very much like, so like that's a good example of how that trauma affected you. Yo, fuck you, dad. You don't really want me to live, like, you know, whatever, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I was in a hurtful moment in that moment,
and that's really how you show how that traveled with you and how you carried it. And then it's great to see.
It's crazy because like this is like 9 years, like because I think I got burned. I don't know. I was like 13, 14 or some shit like that.
Yeah.
So like this is like we're talking like this is like I didn't. My parents started divorcing when I was like 5 or 6 or some shit like that. They started divorcing, and I'm over here 13, 14, like fuck you. This is bullshit. You know what I mean? So like, this is years and years of dealing with it. You know.
But it seems like it took you to kind of revisit that trauma and then work through it and actually get some resolve to be able to say, yo, I hope he's happy. I hope he's got his whole family. Like, I honestly think, you know, whatever. Like, if he reached out to you today, would you have the same response?
He writes me every couple of years.
And do you have
I
the
leave
same?
him on red.
But so it's at least a little better of a response.
He writes me. He's like, oh, you know, blah, blah. And I used to have him blocked online. I don't block him, man.
Do you think any of those traumas still sit with you now? Like, you think they affect you at all?
No, I don't really think that they affect me like too much, to be honest. I know that like obviously like what he did and stuff like that, like I know that it's still there in my head, you know what I mean? But like I don't think it affects me. It doesn't really like bother me at all. I guess like the only way that I can say that like it actually affects me is just more so just like I'll never be that person.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like I hold it there. But I just don't see no purpose in me rekindling anything with him.
So you don't think for the rest of your life you're ever gonna just try to say hi?
No purpose.
No.
I can understand.
I can understand.
No, I don't see a purpose with it because like to me it's like it's almost like some guy in the street. You know what I mean? Like I have my dad. My stepfather is my dad, and I don't see no reason to even have that rekindled. A lot of my other siblings have rekindled with him. Like my younger sister, she still speaks to him. My older brother, everybody else still speaks. I think all of my siblings speak to him except for me.
Right.
Personally.
I'll tell you already if you don't want.
But I do think there's growth in going from anger to indifferent.
Yeah.
Right.
That's growth, right?
Yeah, because before I used to say when I got older I was gonna kill my father myself.
Right.
When I was a kid I used to literally say that I'm gonna kill my father with my own bare hands when I was a kid. And now it's just like, bro, you know, I wish the best for you, bro. I wish you do good. I wish you were everything that you weren't before. I truly hope it.
So look how it's like a blessing almost. Like your step pop's own trauma helped, like you guys resolving that together, kind of, you know, helped you get over your previous problems, you know, and that's a blessing right there, bro.
Definitely.
Growth.
Yeah, that's growth. That's big, man. Go ahead, right. Jacob.
You the man of the hour right now.
Get to your shit, bro.
Start.
Yo, be quick. I'm just fucking.
I'll be quick. I ain't got a lot of
Hey, listen, I'm gonna drop it right here though, because if you guys are on the block 105, you guys' time a lot's gonna be dropped off soon. So if you guys wanted to finish listening to this episode, definitely check us out on Spotify podcasts. I mean Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, everything like that. Even on YouTube, everything like that. Because what this guy Jacob's about to drop, man, it's probably gonna be more than both of us combined. And you guys definitely want to get into that.
Nah, we're short and sweet.
Don't short and sweet, bro. Give it to them, bro. Open up, bro. I went.
I know. What was it? What was your trauma?
We're being vulnerable.
I mean,
here.
my trauma is just it's a whole little mix of my childhood.
Man, just start.
Like, honestly, I'm gonna say this just because that's what ends up being trauma. Me and my family right now, we're like glue.
Yeah.
The only reason we're like glue, when I say like glue, I mean like I know I could trust him to the end of the world is because of what we went through together.
Yeah.
You know, like our bond is on some next level shit. I mean, we talk shit. You see the way we talk to each other, but the love, it's there 10 times.
Yeah.
10 fucking times. I mean,
what's the standout, man?
What's the earliest childhood that you kind of like think back?
I mean,
trauma?
I was like 5. I was like 5 years old, like 5-ish and a half.
And what happened?
We were staying in a mobile home. Me and my mom. My mom is the most strongest woman in my life. Just point that out.
Yeah.
Like when I say strongest, that's who I see when I think about a woman who is strong, who can get shit done. I think about my mom.
And handle bullshit.
Handle the shit to the T, bro.
Yeah.
That's like, she's my idol.
Yeah.
You know, so like she's been like, since I was 5, I had this father who I thought was my father.
Yeah.
Which wasn't, who ended up not being my father.
Your biological dad.
And we didn't know that till I was,
because the definition of father and dad
biological father, I mean.
is honestly for me is like my stepfather is my dad, bro.
No, it is. Mine too.
Yeah,
trust me.
So you grew up thinking your stepdad was your dad.
I grew up thinking my stepdad was my dad. My mom had like a phenomenal situation in the pregnancy because we're twins, as you know. So it was a situation, and if I explain it in depth, you'll understand it. Because she kept it real with me, and she kept it understanding. I understood it completely. Because my twin brother's father is a piece of shit, like abusive, aggressive. Like that's the reason why she broke away, because the whole she basically used to beat her and like try
your twin brother's father.
Yeah.
Wait, what?
So me and my twin brother have different fathers.
That's pretty crazy.
Wait, what?
So like I was the firstborn, meaning I was the first conceived, and then basically he called her like 4 days later to pick him up from a party. And he was threatening her because don't forget, my twin brother, my sister, and my brother, that's their father too. And they're older than me.
Jacob's the only one with a different dad.
So I'm the only one. They're older than me.
I never even knew that. What the fuck?
So they're older than me.
Okay, I gotta look at the statistics on that.
Yeah, it's like 1%. It's less than 1%.
What? I never even knew that. That's crazy. I knew you had a twin, but I never knew it was like that.
Exactly.
But you guys look so much alike.
No, they don't.
They got the same mom.
At all.
What the fuck?
Same
my
mom.
twin, though.
It's a brother
same
from
mom.
the same mother.
That's my brother, you know. So mind you, so he was that way. That was the father to my sister, my brother, who are older than me.
And that's who you thought was your dad?
Yeah, so like that was the one that basically asked her to pick up from a party. Like she kept it real. My mom doesn't bullshit. My mom talk honest. And like he didn't rape her, but like he forced himself on her, and she didn't like she fought it, but like she doesn't want to call it rape.
Everybody knows,
And we're gonna
it's
say
that
what
borderline.
it is.
It's like come on,
You know you shouldn't be doing it, but it was okay in that time frame.
Yeah.
You know, so that was about 3 days after, like she was with somebody she actually liked, like, so that's what that happened. That happened. So basically my mom used to stay in a trailer home.
How old were you? So you said you just found out, right?
So I found out when I was 15, like 13. I was 13-ish, and I found out then. That's another
fucked
story.
up age, bro.
Yeah, so I was 5, 6. We were staying in a mobile home, and then that piece of shit, like my sperm donor, my brother's sperm donor, he was never great. Like always a fucking dickhead. Always a dickhead. Yeah. So like she always treated him like shit. Like fuck him, and that's why I like my mom. I was like, like she's fuck you,
standing up for herself. yeah.
Fuck you, bro. Like you're right.
Yeah.
And it would be fucked up because and even in certain situations, and it was most fucked up was that even before he found out, and once he found out, it was worse. But even before he found out, he was never treating me like his sibling, like I was his kid.
Yeah.
So I was like 11. I was like 12, 13. Like when he found out, like we didn't know who the dad was, but we know he wasn't. At 13, and like we all came outside, and they all like he was like basically I didn't go out there because it was weird, and he didn't like give me no money. He gave everyone money. Everyone gifts and money. He gave me shit. So they want to look at me. They want to say hi to me. They want to say shit, single word to me. Like I didn't know the guy. The guy was irrelevant to me almost. So I was like, cool, that's fine. So I was like 5 or 6. My stepdad came into the picture around 5 or 6. My stepdad's white.
Yeah.
So he was the reason why I learned how to treat a woman.
Yeah.
That's why I respect that, because I would never know how to treat a woman, what not to do, not to hit a woman, you know, the morals behind it, what a man takes to be a man. Yeah. He showed me that, you know, growing up. So it was dope, you know, like, don't get me wrong, we had a little struggles because of financials and stuff. You know, so there's financial struggles going on in my life, but it was always chill. And not only that, I had struggles because my older brother, he has a mental condition. Yeah. So, you know, that's always in its own a struggle. Yeah. Because
that's a struggle in its own, right?
Struggle in its own.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, you know, so when he passed when I was about 11, 10. Okay. And, you know, like, you know, I told you the story, you know, I had to go in there, I had to pick him up in the shower, you know.
How did he pass away? He passed away in the shower?
He had a condition. He had a cardiomyopathy, something like that, where your heart just gives out instantly. So he just passed out in the shower. And my mom was screaming. I remember waking up, my mom was just screaming, like, you know, and I just ran into the room, and my sister everyone was all frantic, but I just ran into the room. I was like, oh shit, what happened? I picked him up, you know.
And this is the dad that didn't give you money, that treated you.
No, this is the dad that I ever called dad. This is the only person I ever called dad in my life. Everybody else you hear me call, it's a biological father or sperm donor. I would never say anything else.
That guy was your dad.
That was my dad, you know. So like, in a sense, you know, I picked him up, took him out the shower, and I ran across the neighbor's yard to get the neighbor to come do CPR and shit like that, you know. And I was like 10, 11, and I remember around that time the pastor came to the house, and I was like, you know what, fuck that. Like, I'm not the type to cry in front of people. I'm not. I'm not gonna sit here, vent my emotions. So I used to go to my room and be like, you know, fuck that. Like, I used to bottle everything up. I'm gonna tell you, everybody, whoever listen to this, do not bottle shit up. Cause even till today, I'm fucking 26 years old, and I'm still dealing with issues that I know. I was like, bro, like,
cause you're trying to work through them now.
I'm still trying to work through them now that I knew I should not have held in so long when I was young. I was so rebellious when I was younger.
Yeah.
In a sense. So, you know, I went through that, and I got, you know, and after that situation, my mom shut down. So like, as soon as he passed away, my mom basically, when I say shut down, I mean like in the room for almost 2 years straight. Not talking, not saying shit, just nothing. It was kind of just like, you know, like
you lost your mom a little bit too.
Kind of like you lost your mom a little bit. And not only that was the only person in my life who was ever kind of supportive to me. So you got to remember, I never really had a support system. Like someone said, like, yeah, you're good at football, you're good at this, you're good at that. So in high school, growing up all through high school, my wrestling, track, football, no one ever came to support me. Yeah. There was nobody but Markel's mom in the stands. Right. And Markel's mom's from Markel. She's just there like to kind of give me some cheers if she sees me. But like, I had nobody of my own that I knew was there just for me to watch me play any sports.
Same thing with me, bro. I didn't have Cruz. Yeah. Cruz used to take me to practice. Cruz used to take me to the games. That was who I had for support.
See, I was used to that, but like when my father came in Predators, because I used to play Predators, and he was the first person to ever like watch me and like cheer me on. So I started getting used to that low key a little bit. I was like, yo, this is nice.
And you should get used to. You should.
You know, you should get used to that. You know, like just a little bit, of, like, you know, like good job. Yeah. You know, so like I started enjoying it a little bit, and that was so when it left quick, it was kind of like, fuck, man, that just sucks.
So you think like, all right, so. Just to summarize, because I think we messed up the timeline because we were asking you questions. Yeah. So you had your father, right, who was in your life for most of the time, or up until 11?
No, a sperm donor who would give just money and groceries. He wasn't staying with us in the house.
But the your father that passed away, how long was he in your life for?
He was in my life since I was like 5, so till I was 11, so about 7, 8 years.
So you had, and that's what you call your father.
Remembering, yes.
Yeah. So that's what you call your father. So when he passed away when you were 11, and then your mom kind of, which understandably shut down for a couple of years. So then it's like that was my mom, that was my support there.
Yes.
And then you said when you were 13, you found out that he wasn't your biological dad then?
So
because you thought he was your biological dad the whole time?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't think he was. Okay. Yeah, he's white as shit. I didn't think he was my biological dad. I thought basically my twin brother's dad, who was the one that was always the dickhead. I thought he was.
Okay, I got you.
I always thought he was.
Did that help you then when you turned 30? Like when you found out he wasn't?
It helped me a little bit because he's always an asshole. He never loved any of us. Like, Like but he gave them a little more than he gave me. And like, especially when he found out, he was like, fuck you. Like, I'm not giving you shit. I'm not even saying hi to you.
Yeah.
And that was cool. I was like, I really didn't mind it. It didn't bother me at all. So I didn't mind it. Like, then I figured out who my dad, like my biological sperm donor was. And then I met him. And then we met. We went to a restaurant. And we talked, and he just tried to buy me good things, and legit, like after the first day, because I'm not the type, because after like dealing with all that shit, I was like, yo, I'm not about to just sit here and say, hi, Dad.
Yeah, no.
I love you, Dad. So
yeah, it's a lot.
So exactly. So after I met him that first day, I guess he thought that, I wasn't being, I don't know what he perceived was good enough. And he was like, oh, fuck you guys, fuck both of you guys. Like, yeah, to my mom, like, fuck you, like this, that, and the fourth, like talking hella shit. Which it didn't bother me much because I don't like at that point I wasn't getting attached.
He was already not there.
I wasn't getting attached.
Yeah.
Like, I already got like through some deep shit. So I was like, yo, like, all right, fuck
but
you.
But that's fucked up. It's like, damn, I just met my biological dad.
Yeah.
And low key.
And he's saying fuck you.
Like low key on the inside, were you a little bit like
low key, I'm not gonna lie. On the inside,
if you work on this, I'll work on this.
On the inside, I was doing work on it. Low key on the inside, I was like, bro, you didn't give it an opportunity to see if there was even a chance.
And you want to say fuck us.
That you could have even like
had a relationship.
When I said we looked like, me and my, not even say stepbrother, the guy who looks like me, that's his son, who looks almost identical to me.
Really?
Weirdly looks closer to me. Bro, like it's just weird. Like, yo, your son even looks like me. And like you couldn't like
that's crazy.
Try to make something work here, but I was at that stage in my life where I was really rebellious. So I was like, fuck it. Like, I'm not going to get wrapped up in, and I thank God that I was in that stage. So I didn't get heartbroken even more. I was like, I was in a really like, fuck this. I'm not going to get broken more. Fuck you.
Right.
So I'm proud of myself for that stage of my life. But like it's certain things I went through that's the reason why my life ended up the way it kind of ended. Like, like I was rebellious so much. I always said fuck you to coaches and
yeah,
fuck
you didn't
this
have
and fuck
you didn't
that.
Respect
Because I never had a mentor. Yeah. I never had like my father figure died so young, and that's the only guy I saw in my life that was kind of like, here's guidance.
Yeah.
And then everybody else in my life thought I was just a piece of shit that didn't want to fucking help me. And it was kind of like, all right, fuck you too then. Like, instead of seeing a kid who's kind of like lost, they saw somebody who's just a fucking dickhead who, fuck him, I don't want to help him.
And that's something for everybody to kind of take that with you, man. Like, you don't know what people went through or why, 1,000%. Especially with kids, bro. Like,
and he was acting out because that's where he had control in his life.
All right.
Everything that was around, like he didn't have control over that.
Yeah.
She's right. No, she's right. I have control. Like,
I can say fuck you, though. You know what I mean?
Exactly, yeah.
I can say fuck you, like, and the rocks and shit, so that's why I went kind of down the path that I went in my life, and the fact that also, like, my mom, she used to always, the biggest thing with me was my mom, man. I love my mom to death. Like, I'm telling you, I don't know what's going to happen.
That's my rock, bro.
But, like, she, and what kind of fucked with me a little bit growing up was the fact that, like, I was kind of her rock. Yeah. And I was only 11. Yeah. So, like, imagine, like, like, she wouldn't come out, but she would come out to, like, cry on my shoulder every night. No. So, my mom used to drink almost every day. Almost every day, my mom used to get fucking drunk. And I love my mom to death, but she gets drunk and then she would just cry on me every night in the garage, every day.
And as a kid, man, that fucks with you.
As an 11-year-old, and I'm talking about she's breaking down, not just like a cry. I'm talking about breaking down. Like, I have to pick her up and hold her. Like, all right, we're good. You know, like. And as an 11-year-old, it fucks with you, bro. It's
that's
like,
a different type of drinking too. Like, I mean, I know I talked about my experience, but that's like
emotional drinkers.
That's like, okay, I gotta be strong now. I gotta stand up.
Yep.
Which is like a different.
So like I took that in, and I was that's why, like, I speak like I have so much wisdom, and I have wisdom. I have that knowledge, like an adult should.
Yeah.
But there's certain things about me that I'm still dealing
You're
with.
Working on.
I'm still working on, because my mental state's still not there like I want it to be. Like, it's there's certain things and qualities that I know because of my childhood it's not where it should be, that I'm trying to fix.
But man, one of the greatest things is being aware of that.
Aware of it,
exactly. Because like, seriously, man, if you're not aware of the issues that are inside of you, that you're going through, whatever that you're trying to deal with, there's no way for you to even start trying to even fix them, because it's crazy because a lot of people go through their life, man, and they have so many issues and they just don't even know they have the issues and they blame everything else.
Right.
Like you said you bottled that shit up and you wish you never did.
Oh, I fucking wish I never did.
Because now you're working on it now.
You should talk to Mario. I would love, my girl. For people who don't know, my girl.
Of course.
It's funny because we've been together for 8 years, but you should ask her when we first got together, bro. She used to say when we first got together, I used to get fucking drunk. Just stupid. I was a freshman. I was not a freshman. I was like a senior in high school and drunk as shit. And then like when I got stupid drunk, I just started balling out.
Yeah.
All the fucking time.
Yeah.
And it's funny to say now, but like, I used to ball out all the fucking time. I got stupid drunk. Yeah. And she used to be like, yo, what the fuck? What's happening? I was like, oh, no, my bad. Like, you don't understand how to handle it. Like, but you get stupid. You get out your mental space and you don't know how to hold it back anymore because you used to do it for so long, So I tell people, man, it's the best just let it out. Let it out and find your way to connect and find your way to get past it.
What triggered you to start like working on it, going from bottled to like, oh, there are some qualities that I understand I'm different on because of this shit I went through? Like, at what point did you start working on it?
Well, I knew from the whole like Samara situation and drinking.
She kind of helped you.
Well, the whole drinking situation kind of showed me like I had this kind of like pent up, like, drinking kind of.
I got a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, because when you drink, it's kind of like, that low key issue. If you get fucked up,
suppressing things.
It comes out. Yeah, you suppress it so far that you can only get to a different mind space to get it to come out.
Right.
So like, when I started seeing that with Samari and I started seeing what I was doing, like I kept doing that. It wasn't just once. It was like 4 or 5 times. I used to get fucked up pretty bad, you know? Like I was like, all right, like I have some issues that I have to work on. And the way I was treating people too, I realized I was being a dickhead, not because I wanted to. I was being a dickhead because it's just like
your tolerance was different. Like you're I mean, you tell me, but you went through such a high tolerance of like pain and like disappointment and all this shit that your sympathy for other things that normal people might think.
Yeah.
No, it is.
Went.
It is.
That's why we said you were on the spectrum a while back.
Yeah, a lot of people say, and that's why a lot of people think I'm a dickhead. A lot of people say, you're such an asshole. It's not that I'm an asshole. It's that I find it hard to find empathy for things that a lot of typical people find empathy for.
Because you went through so much bad shit that it's like, but this is nothing.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, it's very hard for me to be like, oh, wow, you're dwelling so much off of this situation. Like, it's like, for me, it's kind of like,
but you're also comparing it to like the things you went through and how but the things you went through and how you dealt with it. So you said, oh, if I went through this and I did this, then you going through that and you doing this is you overreacting. But in reality, maybe that's how.
Yeah, you shouldn't compare.
No, but maybe that's how it should be reacted to. But you're comparing it to how you reacted. You get what I'm saying?
No, yeah. No, a lot of things about my reactions.
Oh, 100%. Like for me with death, I don't know. It's like really weird. I can't cry when people die. Like I get sad, but it's also kind of like a point of me that's like, you know what, man? They're not on this fucking shitty earth anymore. They're actually somewhere that's probably more enjoyable.
So Samari kind of gave you a little bit of like a mirror. Or a little bit like that. You try to be better for her a little bit.
Well, Samara gave me a mirror. You gotta realize I have 5 siblings. 4.
Yeah,
I mean, at that time I had 4 siblings, and my brother came in like right when my dad died, so he was like a baby.
Yeah.
So I had 4 siblings, and we all end up. If you look at us all, we all have different paths. We all have different mindsets. We all have different. I mean, my younger brother was in jail, and he's very aggressive still. My sister is very. Aggressive in her own way. Like we all have our own different traits and qualities, but that's what showed me kind of like, all right, bro, like you have issues and I know I had issues. I knew I fucking had issues. That's besides the point. It's more so of how can I get this fixed? Like it's never gonna be a fix, but how can I get this to a point where it's like, all right, man, like it's not hindering my success.
We're good enough.
Hindering my issues, because
Because your sympathy level or your empathy level will probably never change, and that's true for a lot of people. Like Santi's sympathy level is 0.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, because of what he went through. And that will never change. You know what I mean? But like you said, like some of those things that are hindering you.
Yeah.
Is what to work on.
I think things start becoming an issue when it affects your daily life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, that's an issue too, because I feel like my mental does affect my daily life. Like my mental's been my biggest issue since I was like 16, 17. And I only say it's an issue because I'm willing to address
So
my issue. Like I'm willing to address the fact that I think I have an issue in my head. You know,
what are things that you do to help you, like
work on it now?
Work on it, yeah, to get better.
So like for now, like I do a lot of affirmations. You know, I do a lot of YouTubing. You know, like motivational videos, like things. Cause don't forget, I never really had a support system, and I was kind of always my own cheerleader growing up. My own cheerleader always growing up. So it's very hard for me to think I'm gonna fail and everything. It's very easy and hard. Easy for me to think I'm gonna fail. Easy for me to think that this isn't gonna work out. This is gonna be stupid. So I'm doing things to kind of mold my brain differently. Like, you know, to kind of like, all right, bro, like this guy's doing it. You could fucking do it. Like, you know, like you watching this video, you could do it. Like, you know, like, cause I have so many detrimental things that could be like, you know what, like you're gonna fucking fail anyways. I can always be negative only because this is what I went through, but it's a kind of like I'm trying to find a way to be positive. Like, you know, like I don't need a cheerleader. I could be my own cheerleader, but find a way to do it in a way that actually push me. Yeah. Motivationally.
That's like it seems like that's definitely like you got a lot of shit out of all that.
Yeah.
But there were like just like anything there's a couple blessings that came from it. Yeah. Cuz I'll tell you what, man, a lot of people that always had that support system, you know?
Yeah.
They never know how to support themselves. They never learn how to be that self cheerleader, right? Like they kind of need somebody to reassure them all the time. Yep. You don't need anybody to reassure you for shit. And that's a superpower that you kind of develop through your shit. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's definitely a blessing in it. And then the other blessing, if you ask me, even though you're still working through it, you know what I mean? You're 26, you know what I mean? It's been a long time, but I mean, like, there's a guy right in that room over there that's 56 that's still working on his shit.
My step pop's mid-30s, bro.
Yeah, so that's great. That's, you know what I mean? Like that,
you're doing good, bro.
The positives of it, at least, you know.
Like I said, like
it's true.
One of the things was my stepfather wasn't even aware of it until like after us for years, like hounding him about it. Is I think, especially my mom. I'm pretty sure him and my mom had some conversations together.
They got him open his
eyes. That helping, and I think he didn't. I don't think he was even like fully aware until he's like mid-30s, and like the fact that you're aware now, bro, and you're even wanting to work on us for that is big.
You think, like, if you, from hearing what you're saying and from kind of knowing you, it definitely does seem like Samari, and the fact that your mom and a lot of your family members look to you to be the strong one, and you kind of had to like do it.
Oh yeah,
kind of forced you to work on it earlier than maybe you would have if not, right?
The reason why everything is because I was like the father at 11 years old. I was the one. Even today, if you look at, I'll show you my phone, bro. My brother, Jeremy, Sierra, Julian, they all call me. Yeah. They all vent to me. My younger brother, I am legit the glue. Like I'm their own glue. Yeah. In a sense.
And that's a weight.
That's a lot of weight.
But that's what helped you start working on it, I think. You know, cause say you go through all that shit, right? And then you didn't have to grow up for your mom. You didn't have to grow up for your family members and shit. And you were able to just go on your own and suppress. That would have been different. That would have been bad. Different. I feel like that would have been bad, maybe, right?
It would have.
You could have easily drifted through your 20s drinking and shit like that.
Oh, fuck yeah.
By yourself. Like, I don't got to do nothing for nobody. Like, fuck these people, you know? And then maybe that's why a lot of people don't start working on it until they're in their 30s, because that's when they end up trying to find stability or get with somebody that shows them stability. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and then it's like
shows them that path.
Like, fuck, I'm already 35. You know what I mean? And now I got to work on it. Like, so it's like just kind of like Zach, where it's like that hard situation following the biggest trauma that you have or traumas that you have, kind of forced you to work through it earlier, which is a fucking blessing.
No, yeah. At the end of the day, like I agree with you. It forced me to grow up early. Like, it's half and half.
Yeah.
There's cons, but the pro is that I did grow up faster than I needed to, and I was able to be wiser, and like the hardships aren't as hard now compared to when I was younger. So it's kind of like, all right, fuck you. I get that. I didn't get this. Yeah. So yeah, you're right. So it kind of molds you to be stronger in a sense.
It kind of sucks too, because it's like, all right, because just learning from your situation. If I ever bumped in, if my kid or if I had like a nephew, just any kid that went through crazy trauma, right? That happened. like that, you're not removing that, right?
Yeah.
It's almost like to coddle the kid at that point might be detrimental a little bit. You know what I mean? Like, who knows? You know, like sometimes once you go through a certain trauma, like
For sure.
now you have to work through it a different way.
That's why kids that are from the ages of 14 to 18 never get adopted, because they're jumping from house to house and they can't like receive that love.
They're on fuck you.
Yeah, they're like, who the fuck are you? Like, I'm gonna get a new foster mom tomorrow. Like, I'm not gonna see you again. Yeah.
And it's kind of like them, not like they kind of got that support, just enough support to where okay, I got a little food, I can sleep. You know, I don't have to be there for anybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I mean. Like, putting that extra, like, hey, you got to nut up or shut up right now. Like, is the situation you got put in when the dust settled. It was like, yo, you got to be here for your moms. You got to be here for your family and stuff. And it makes you think. It's like sometimes that tough love is necessary at a certain point. Or not tough love, but like, you know, like if you got coddled at that point, you could have been a dick. You could have remained worse. You think? I don't know.
Honestly, yeah. I mean,
or it could have helped.
It depends. I mean, I feel like like, for example, he was saying no one was going to his games and stuff like that. Maybe if someone was showing up to his games and be like, oh my God, Jacob, you're doing amazing. You know, just like that little
right
glimpse.
There. Yeah.
Because if you look at bullies, they're bullying people, right? They're calling people names. When you look at their lives, they're going through crazy shit behind them. Yeah. And if they have somebody that gives them that stability, that love, that nurturing, it can change. You can change.
Yeah. But I feel like being coddled and then just having like the basic life support is different.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
That's a basic human right.
Yeah.
It could be very true that was just a happy coincidence that second layer of your life of having to be strong and that bullshit, because that fucks with people.
But it's still detrimental though. That's what we can't let go of the fact though, because like, yeah, if I got coddled, they could have been a little better maybe in a sense, but I mean, even this part is still detrimental. I still am dealing with mental issues. I'm trying to figure out myself. So it's like we can't say there's no perfect right or wrong. I feel like there's no perfect way.
Yeah, definitely. Man, I'll tell you what. Parenting has got to be like one of the hardest things in this world, bro.
Right?
It's all about balancing, man. I don't have no kids.
Being the best parent you can so they don't get fucked up.
Honestly, man,
and it's crazy.
Do your best.
From experience, it's like we only remember certain things from our childhood, right? But you remember that shit when you were 5,
clear as day,
3, whatever. Like when you were in like little kid. And another good example is like Kristan's pops. Like when he's 50. 62, and he opened up to Kristan just recently about some shit. Just little, he didn't really, you know, like just things said to him and things like whenever he tried to show emotion that he remembers when he's 62.
Yeah.
You know, so it's just like, so, and to make this more positive, it's like, so if those negative things can stick with you until you're 62, just imagine what if you instill the positive things and if you instill like, you know what I mean? Like just this podcast kind of stuff that we do, you know what I mean? Like the way we talk about stuff, the way we try to work through stuff and open up, you know, and try to be vulnerable in it. It's like, if you instill that in your kid, like what is that going to do for him?
And you can change the next generation that way.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. 100%.
And you'll be surprised, man. Like, and like what we're going through right now, I know there might be people who are listening and they're like, oh, that's it. That's nothing, blah, blah. I know a lot of people have it a lot worse than me,
100%.
a lot worse than all of us. And I understand that. And prayers to anybody who has gone through it. Anybody that's currently going through it, man, if you're currently going through things and things may be tough or whatever, and you guys listening to this, man, just know that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel, man. Just try to keep your head clean. Try to do the best that you can. I know that is hard and it's easier said than done, but just keep pushing and doing your thing. And just,
that's what Jacob's story says for me. Is like, you get you go through all that and then you get this second wave where you have every reason to break down and say, fuck it. And then, but like, look what happens when you don't. Yeah. It becomes a blessing almost when you don't break down. Like it becomes, damn, that's the reason why I'm working on it in my 20s instead of my 30s. Was because I had to, you know, stand up and nut up and get
people are looking for him. Yeah. People are expecting him to answer that phone, you know, like.
Yep.
And it's crazy have that, he can, look at this, bro. Said, like you instantly become the thing that you were missing. You know what I mean? Which is crazy, bro.
That's a good ass phrase right there. Hell yeah.
You know? And that's strength. And that's
deep.
That shit that you should carry with you, man. Like And like I said, you know, like, because I do think like some type of like the best people in the world went through shit. The most successful people in the world went through stuff, and
had to eat shit.
And those that haven't, you could tell. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You could tell.
But it's a fine line. You know what I mean? It's definitely a fine line. But yeah, man,
This is good.
this is great, bro. I appreciate y'all for opening up too.
You guys are very vulnerable.
And Kristen,
always
our
is.
resident social worker, I appreciate you for being here for us, letting us open up.
Yes, ma'am.
I think this was a great episode. I appreciate you guys for listening to us.
I want to hug you guys. Like, that was like so amazing.
It was good. It was great. And to end it out, to close it out, you want to put the
Yeah, I already got it ready.
we got. So we started off the audio, you know, the intro audio was kind of like what is trauma and how it's kind of registered in the brain. Fast forward, we kind of go through what we went through in our lives and stuff, and we kind of want to close it out with another audio that kind of, I feel like,
more motivational. A little
it's
bit.
like, how, man, let's this is how you get through it a little bit. You know what I mean? Or
definitely.
a motivation. You know what I mean? Like a motivation for those that are going through worse than what we talked about,
through.
or less. Like, again, everybody goes through it differently.
Yep, definitely. And if you guys listen all the way through, we do appreciate you guys. And,
Yes.
We love y'all.
I know, man. We opened up deep in this, man. We told you guys, man. I told you guys some things that I haven't told a lot of people in my life. You know what I mean? So like, it is what it is, you know. And we put on an open sleeve. We just told you guys straight out how it is, and like I said, we're not comparing ourselves to anybody else. So if you guys had it worse, then I'm sorry, man. I really hope.
And we
that
know
everything gets
people that's had it worse.
Yeah, 1,000%. So don't think that we're trying to come with like a pity party or anything like that, because nothing like that. But we just wanted to share out with you guys like what we went through and how we got through and stuff like that. And maybe it will help people get through their own situations and help maybe inspire them to want to attack some things that they're maybe going through mentally, or maybe, you know, it just helps you maybe become self-aware of some things maybe that you have from your childhood and stuff like that. So
100%, man.
we're just trying to bring positivity and just try to bring some love, you know. I know it's kind of a little bit more of a sadder episode than what we normally do. And if you guys did listen all the way through, we do appreciate you guys.
It's an inspiring episode.
1,000%. Yeah, I was gonna say it might be like a little bit on the more sad side, but look, I want you guys to look at it positive and, you know, look at what we went through and where we're at, and just know that anything is possible, man. And where we're at right now is not going to be anything compared to where we're at in the future. Don't let your past struggles and your past anchors hold you down for what you can do, what you can achieve in the future. Hands down.
And this is Pocket Watch's perspective. You know what I mean? Like, if you guys know, if you want to go see some real situations, some real bottoms and how they became successful, you know, you could go find that, man.
Definitely, 100%. But other than that, I think we're pretty much good. Anybody want to add anything?
That's it, man. Enjoy this audio at the end, man.
All right, Pocket Watch out, guys.
Pocket Watch out.
Pocket watch out.
Bye.
How much emotion and feeling you may have or how much hurt you may have, life has to go on. Life doesn't stop for anybody. So if you don't process that and understand that, you're stuck in whatever time period you got hurt forever. So grudges and anger and negativity, I don't have time for it because I'm living to so much positive things. I can't stand in the past and bathe in what was wrong.